Hello everyone, I'm Stupid Vet Hobbit, and I'd like to take some time to talk to you about the shield-based Aether Death Knight that I've been using as my Lokarr farmer as of late. This is a tank. This is a very tanky tank that was designed with one thing and one thing in mind alone: to handle Lokarr at his worst, handle him consistently, quickly, and completely safely. As you can see, this build has no issues completely face-tanking Lokarr, and more often than not, including on this attempt right now, I can take him down without using a single health potion the entire time. In fact, I haven't even had to use my major cooldown even once, which is my Menhir's Bastion. For those of you wondering who Lokarr is, he is one of the new super bosses added in Ashes of Malmoth. He drops a leveling set, which can be used at level 1. It is the best leveling set in the game and will easily replace the majority of your leveling gear because it has good health bonuses, good OA, the boots have move speed, it also has extra stuff like entrapment duration, slow resistance, stun resistance, and plus to all skills on the set bonus, on top of having a 40% XP gain bonus, which stacks with the experience potion you can buy from Malmoth resistance at maximum rep. So on the build, as I said, this is a tank. It is a sword and board tank. It is an Aether-based Death Knight, that means Soldier and Necromancer. The core of this build revolves around mitigating lots of damage in a variety of different ways, more on that later, and dealing damage through cadence and heavy Aether attacks that have a lot of penetration behind them. The large amount of penetration is a key part of this build. So on to the basics of the skills. Cadence. This is our primary skill. It is our main hand attack. It hits twice. The third attack hits significantly harder. This adds a lot of damage to cadence in terms of flat physical. We convert the majority of this to Aether and then scale the hell out of that. And then use ample amounts of penetration to ensure that damage reaches its mark. Other soldier staples, most of you are probably familiar with these: Field Command, 1 point in squad tactics, Overguard, and Markovian's defense is key for tankiness. 1 pointing the usual suspects, high level scars of battle, nice armor absorb, stun duration, yada yada. Most of these are pretty self-explanatory. We go with Menhir's Bulwark for the extra tankiness, Blitz, movement speed, movement skill, and majority of which is also converted to Aether, actually more than our cadence because the set we're using supports it directly. 1 point counter-strike, Warcry is good, especially for the reduced target's damage, great for a tank build. 1 point in each of these, and Fighting Spirit, of course. Over to Necromancer. 1 point in Reaping Strike. I'm a big fan of this. When this procs, you leech back quite a bit. This is just really good overall. It won't proc on your third cadence hit, the big one, but it can proc on the other two. It just helps quite a bit with sustain. Siphon Souls, Aether conversion. This leeches quite a bit. This can leech quite a large amount when leeching through large amounts of trash, and can keep you alive while tanking incredible amounts of things. In the pre-Lokarr trash, which killed my previous Lokarr farmer, my Bleed Warder, this character can literally aggro every mob in the zone before Lokarr and just either completely ignore them or face tank them all while, AoEing them down with Siphon Souls and the Krieg War Stomp. AoE is not this build's strongest suit. It was designed to be a single target super boss killer, which it does exceptionally well. But its AoE is high enough to be passable if needed. Spectral Binding. This is the backbone of this build, arguably the single strongest node in Necromancer, and we make maximum use of it. As an Aether attack-based build, we make use of the flat OA. As a tank, we exceptionally make use of that health. That flat Aether and percent Aether, no other node does more for this build than this as far as passives go. This is huge. There's a reason we have this at 22/12, the maximum level possible even with gear. Spectral Wrath, this gives us Aether Pen and also reduces the attack speed of our enemies, which makes it easier to tank because they attack slower. This is a nice safety button, like a cooldown. This just gives you a lot of absorption for a short duration. You can rotate this with other cooldowns to basically take almost no damage during the fight, as you saw me just do. Onto the Devotion. single most important devotion to this build, in my opinion, is time dilation. This is bound to blitz. We spam blitz, during the fight. I probably didn't do the best job spamming it during this video because, honestly, I've gotten lazy with this build just because of how strong it is. And this resets our cooldowns, which lets us spam Mark of Torment, which lets us spam basically everything more often, but especially keeping 100% Overguard uptime, higher Mark of Torment uptime, and letting us use Menhir's Bastion more often if needed. Since we're already very heavy in the red and blue, and we're a tank, Spear of the Heavens is ideal for us, gives us lots of Aether and a very nice Aether proc. Also got a nice bit of OA over here, and since we're, again, very heavy in the red and blue, we go ahead and take Dying God just for the OA. These Chaos nodes and Vid nodes don't do crap for us. And for this proc, we're actually literally taking it just for the crit damage and the total speed. That Vid damage and Chaos damage does nothing for us, but this Constellation is so strong, and since we're already in the Affinity, it's actually worth taking these just for the OA and crit damage. The rest is relatively self-explanatory. Chariot for more OA. We've got Toad for some Leech and Aether damage. Fizz Resist on Sailor's Guide. Lizard, this region helps, with Dying God, also with the Affinity. Aether damage here, Aether Pen on Arcane Bomb. Most of these are pretty self-explanatory if you just look over them with an Aether build in mind. All of this adds up to quite a bit of penetration, by the way. We have Arcane Bomb for minus 34 Aether resist over here. We have, how much? I think it was minus 35 or something? 36 Aether on Spectral Wrath. We have another 32 reduced flat on my Mind Warp, 24%. And I think that's about it. I might be forgetting something. Oh, I'm forgetting the ring. Minus 15 on the ring as well. But basically, we have well over 100 flat Aether Pen, which works exceptionally well against extremely high resist bosses like Lokarr. More on him later in the video. And that about covers it for the devotions. As far as gear goes, as some of you may have guessed, we are using the Krieg set. It is the go-to set for a Death Knight, especially since the buff in 1.3, which added +1 skills to Necromancer to it, as well as some other plus skills for Necro related on it. I believe it was plus to Spectral Binding, which helps in maxing out our Spectral Binding so high, which gives us a ridiculous HP total. Aside from the Krieg set, the other items you're going to want, Mythical Mark of Anathema. This adds a good amount of flat Aether, gives us some nice max res, reduces the OA of enemies hit by our Siphon Souls, and increases the damage of our Siphon Souls. Just nice overall. Alternative choice, Mark of Divinity is a good tank choice, but and is usually my go-to choice, especially on builds that are going to be taking a lot of hits. But since we're playing a soldier, which has Menhir's... Where is it? We have a Circuit Breaker in terms of Menhir's Will. We don't really need Mark of Divinity as much as some other builds do. And on top of that, we have so much mitigation and defense that, I was perfectly comfortable dropping Mark of Anathema. I don't think this build has ever dropped below 15,000 HP. Maybe once when I just completely wasn't paying attention. I maybe got to 10k, but yeah, I've never even gotten remotely close to dying. When I had Mark of Divinity on, it never procced even once. So yeah. Mythical Band of Eternal Haunt, as mentioned, for the Aether resist penetration, also gives us some nice scaling and OA and resist. Conduit of Warring Whispers. This is my personal choice. That maximum all resist makes us exceptionally tanky. As you can see, our resists are 86, 86, 89, 83s or higher on just about everything, 90 on Vid. And if we pop our Menhir's Bastion, our resists get very, very, very formidable indeed. This adds Elemental, I believe. Yeah, so, and considering Lokarr does mainly fire and lightning, this basically makes it so we take almost no damage when standing in front of him on top of the absorption that it gives. On the non-legendary pieces, the only ones that are really important that you need to worry about are, you need some kind of leech ring. I happen to get really lucky on this ring. This is probably one of the best items I own in terms of how well it fits a particular build. There is almost no wasted stat on this build as far as the affixes go. We've got some great resist, health, leech. This is a bit insane, and the rares in general that I have on this character are very nice, and you probably will have a difficult time getting items quite this nice, although you can definitely get close, and these are achievable, if you're willing to put in the time, especially in farming Gladiator to Crucible to 150, which this build is definitely capable of doing. The belt and the pants are basically you're just trying to get health resists and, you know, some OA if you can. I happen to get some OA over here and some fizz resist over here, but generally you're just looking to just get the best general rares you can in those slots. I actually got really lucky on this belt. We just did one random run of Valkyrie just one day. I usually hate doing that place and happened to get this the day before I was rolling this character, so it fit perfectly. This shield is actually relatively easy to farm compared to the other pieces. You can farm this at the Steel Cap vendor, the one, the rare goods vendor in the Steel Cap district, just by resetting the instance over and over and over and checking his inventory. That's how I did it. It took me about an hour to get this. I was just trying to farm any kind of impassable. I happened to get Immortality, which is one of the best suffixes I could get, and stopped right there. From other people trying to farm similar shields, they've tried quite longer and not gotten close. I would just try to get an impassable. There are also some alternative gear options we'll cover in a moment. Relic, Menhir's Bastion. This is, in my opinion, the go-to defensive relic. Gives you a very nice cooldown. This really rounded out the build for me by giving, you know, a bit more fizz resist, a ton of pierce resist, which is very important for Lokarr. More shield block chance, shield damage blocked, and as I said, the very, very nice defensive cooldown, which serves as your primary oh shit button if things start to go down and your potion's either on cooldown or you don't just want to use it just yet. Components, again, are relatively self-explanatory on the Grimtools. We've got Ugdenbog Leather for DA resist, Leech on the gloves, health resist, armor absorb over here. Our armor is roughly 2200 to 3k with 98% absorb. Our OA is a very nice 3.2k with just chilling when, you know, default buffs up, no procs, nothing. Almost 2.2k DA as well. You know, runebound topazes, this build makes incredible good use of them. Seal of Annihilation, best in slot. Yeah, this is pretty self-explanatory if you go through the Grimtools piece by piece. Alternative gear. If you just can't farm this or want a different setup, the main different kind of setup you can go with is a more aggressive setup. You can swap this for Mythical Will of the Living, which adds a lot of flat Aether and a lot of physical to Aether conversion. This adds a lot of damage. You can actually take down Lokarr almost twice as fast as I did if you're willing to sacrifice a bit of defense, but I specifically built this character to handle Lokarr at its worst, and also so, you know, I could kind of fuck up a bit and still live to see the next sunrise. This build allows you to go full retard and still survive very well, the way it's set up. You can also swap the Relic out for something more offensive, swap out the Amulet for a Peerless Eye of Baranath, and also go slightly more aggressive on the Devotions, and still be able to take down Lokarr just fine. You just won't have the same degree of tankiness. Oh, as far as consumables go, we have Courageous Tincture. I forget where this was bought from. It's one of the faction vendors. It adds, you know, nice 10% DA, 20% armor. It's just a nice another ability to hit. We've got on our bar. Why not? You know, just buy a couple hundred of them, keep them on your character. They're pretty cheap. So on to Lokarr. This is the Lokarr guide. This will be in the YouTube video description for you to look up. This will also always be available on my stream under the !Lokarr command. This is written by Luzafis. He did a very good job of very step-by-step telling you exactly what to do, exactly what you need to get, and giving a nice little preview of the Lokarr set as well somewhere, for those of you who want to see what the stats are. It's also on Grimtools, obviously. Lokarr himself. The main thing you need to be aware of, the single most dangerous thing, is he reduces 40 targets' resistances for 5 seconds. This is an all resist reduction. While and as far as the rest of his damage goes, TLDR, he has a lot of health, physical, fire, lightning. The main thing, 40 reduced targets' resistances, which means you want to 40 overcap on every resist. Why every? He only does physical, fire, and lightning. Because he summons clones of John Bourbon, which can do other damage types, and not only that, but like every other mob in Grim Dawn, which can spawn with a weapon, he has a range of different weapons he can spawn with. The worst weapon that I've ever run in him with, I kept it as a bit of a souvenir, was this one, Sinister Preserver Greatsword of Celerity. It has 40% armor piercing on it, and then 115 armor piercing increased. So that armor, that physical, is being almost 100% converted to pierce. It has flat pierce on top of that, and a bunch of percent pierce. And on top of that, 25% more damage to humans. For those of you unfamiliar with this stat in Grim Dawn, it is a more multiplier. It is multiplicative. So this thing did quite a bit of damage. This is why it's very important to be overcapped on all resist, because normally he doesn't do a lot of pierce, but then he can roll a weapon like this and suddenly do massive amounts of pierce. And as you all know, pierce is one of the hardest resists to overcap. Again, that comes back to this relic, that 51 pierce resist. Some of you may have noticed that I was using an array of potions early while fighting him. These were to overcap on every one of my resists. The ones I have to use are Chaos and Poison, because those are the ones I don't have at 40 or close enough to 40. Like Aether's 39, that's good enough. To reliably tank his resist reduction. That's again why this relic was really important, and having and especially on Pierce, because there is no potion for Pierce. There is no potion for Pierce. You cannot drink a potion to get 25 more Pierce resist like you can on other elements. You actually have to overcap via gear. Lokarr also has massive amounts of resist. As you can see, 98, 98, 98, 98, 98 is Aether's 98. So this is why our huge amount of pen, which we went over earlier in the build, is so important. Otherwise, it's very hard to actually do reasonable amounts of damage to him. As far as other options for the build, I've also been asked frequently, why didn't you do a Battle Mage? Maven Sphere is really good mitigation. The TLDR is that Arcanist doesn't have any Aether Pen, and penetration is just too important when it comes to super bosses. Arcanist doesn't have anything like Spectral Wrath, therefore, end of story. And while you get increased absorption from Mavens, you get increased flat health, and a huge amount of increased flat health from Spectral Binding, 3,000. So that more than compensates for having less absorption. And not to mention you have a very nice cooldown here, which is basically the equivalent of Mirror. You're essentially invulnerable when this is up. If you even with 1 point in it. This 43 absorb stacks with the other absorbs we have. As far as leveling this build goes, don't level with this build. Please don't try to level into this build straight up as Aether. You will not have a good time. The way you want to level this build is with a generic soldier force wave leveling tree. I will be providing a pretty, a very basic one, soldier only, in the comments. In the YouTube description, I mean. You can add on Necro yourself or pair this with any class to use any build. This is just a generic force wave leveling tree. Get your force wave, your blitz, it's pretty obvious in the direction you want to take things. And you're dumping most of your points into soldier, so you won't have too much trouble filling out everything you need to get. And obviously, for those of you wondering, obviously the devotions are there. This is what most people want to see, and yeah, this is the devotion tree you're more or less going to go into, or something close to this. Like this T3, getting this physical pierce really early, and generally just trying to get OA, Kraken, that kind of thing. So yeah, I believe that is everything. Last but not least, I'd like to give a shout out to our fellow community member and stream viewer, Mr. Tech, for bringing the build to my attention and doing a very solid job of executing it himself. And I hope you all enjoyed the video. And my Twitch is Twitch TV SF Hobbit. YouTube is, as you can see, youtube.com, Stupid Fat Hobbit. Thank you all for watching. Stay safe out there.